Okie dokie. Welcome everyone. My name is Bo Dennis. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the beginning farmer specialist here at MOFGA. You are in the Journeyperson Program information session today. We'll be going for about an hour and just really taking this opportunity to answer any questions and describe more about the program. And I'm going to have Abby and Brittany introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Abby Sadowskis. I am the Maine field agent for Land for Good. I will tell you a little bit more about Land for Good coming up here. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hey, I'm Brittany Hopkins. My pronouns are she and hers, and I own Wiseacres Farm in Kenduskeag outside of Bangor, and I'm a graduate of the Journeyperson Program about 9 years ago. So I'm here just to speak to my experience as a journey person and working with MOFGA.
Awesome. And I will say that both Abby and I are also Journey People graduates, right, Abby? Yeah.
That's true.
From a few years back. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. So Zoom orientation for folks that are just joining. If you scroll, we are in webinar format. This is for your confidentiality, for us to share out the recording afterwards. You are automatically on mute. So we really want to encourage people to type in any questions to the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. There's 2 speech bubbles. If you click on that, you should be able to type in a question, and we'll be responding to those throughout today. And Abby will be helping me by reading those out, and we can answer them as best we can. And there will also be resources and links dropped into the chat feature as well. So look out for those. And if you want to return to this webinar, this will be shared out for future reference. It most likely will take about a week for me to get up on the website and emailed out to everyone that registered for the event. So today's webinar, the really big goal of this is to just provide more information about the Journeyperson Program. We're going to go through the goals of the program, outline the qualifications to being part of the program, describing the different aspects of the Journeyperson Program, the application process, and then we're going to hear from Abby about land access assistance through Land for Good, and hear from Brittany about her experience doing the Journeyperson Program as well, and then answer any questions that you guys might be bringing to today. So the goals of the program is to support beginning farmers, and the beginning farmers as defined by the USDA is folks that have less than 10 years of experience or less than 10 years of filing farm taxes. So you have launched a farm business in Maine that's going to have economic and or community impacts in the Maine agricultural community. The goal is to really build farmer to farmer connections and get connected to a farming network and a mentor. And we recognize that there are many barriers that farmers face, and they depend largely on our positionality, but thinking about how the Journeyperson Program can be used to support beginning farmers overcome barriers such as access to farming education, access to capital and land, and access to community network. So the components of the 2-year program, and this is the main outlines of the program, and then there's little details in here too that I might be able to answer questions about, but you do receive an educational stipend of $750 per farm over the 2 years that you're in the program. This is used for things like books or memberships to an organization, any sort of technical assistance you might want. Like, for example, if you want someone to help you set up your QuickBooks and education around that. We do pay a mentor to work directly with you. Oftentimes, these are mentors that you select based on what you are wanting support on in your business at that time, and you can change your mentor from year 1 to year 2. I do a lot of farm visits with farmers, and also other folks in the farmer programs department at MOFGA do as well. So you get technical assistance and farm visits from us as the MOFGA staff. The Farm Beginnings program, which some folks might be familiar here, is our whole farm planning and business planning course that runs throughout the winter. That's part of the Journeyperson program. That's a required part of the Journeyperson program. There are discounts to Johnny's and Fedco and other supply companies like Living Acres and Felco Clippers and things like that. And then you get access to Abby, who will help you with any sort of land access. So you might be, looking for land to purchase or wanting to secure a lease, and we can help in that process. The other aspects are there's a Journeyperson listserv that anyone that has ever done the program or is part of the program is on a Google group. And that is kind of a farmer to farmer network of any question you can imagine about farming that you are looking for feedback on or trying to connect with people. That is an incredible community resource of that farming network that you're part of as a Journeyperson. You have free access to all of MOFGA's educational workshops, including the Farmer to Farmer conference. And then we also have the shared use farm equipment, which are farm equipment that is housed in Unity, and you have access to that equipment while you're in the program. Any questions so far, Abby?
None so far.
Okay, great. So qualifications to the program, you have a minimum of 2 years farming experience. At least one of those years is in Maine. We are, the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association is hosting this program. So it's really important that even if you don't have interest or you are not currently certified organic, that you have goals of being, following sustainable practices, environmental, social, and economic sustainable practices. It's important that you are actively farming through the duration of the program, so you do have secure land tenure. And Abby, as Abby will describe, we will help with this. So say you're interested in doing the program, but you don't currently have access to land, we'll help you get to that stage before you apply to the program. You have already launched the beginning stage of your business. So you've maybe already been selling for a year and you're looking for more support in expanding your business. And then something that we really do consider is, do you have the time and the capacity to utilize the program resources? A lot of the program is about connecting to other farmers and taking advantage of workshops and conferences. So if you're earlier on in your farm journey and you're really focusing on your production and grappling with a lot of questions there, you might not have the time to take advantage of the program. So oftentimes we encourage people to actually wait to apply to the program so they can really have that time and capacity to dive in.
Well, we have a question.
Awesome.
So the question is, who chooses mentors? Is that something program attendees choose, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have some guidance around how to navigate that. A lot of the times folks are like, oh, I really need support on how to manage my goat herd more sustainably. And we'll provide suggestions of farmers in Maine that, not only are good goat herdsmen, but also maybe committed to the educational aspect of connecting to beginning farmers. So we can suggest people. You might also have people in mind, and then we can also help initiate that conversation. Hope that answers a little bit of that. So we can suggest, and we can talk to you more about like what you're wanting to focus on in your business. And then as far as what that mentorship looks like, it's really up to you and that mentor to build that relationship.
And Bo, do you want me to hold questions at this point? We have a couple more.
Let's go on and see if they maybe get answered.
Okay.
So just like who doesn't qualify, if you've been filing a Schedule F more than 10 years, that is restrictive in our USDA funding. We also can't fund farmers that have a 501c3 status. I am getting more answers on this one because this is a question about because our funding is largely federal, if it is a federally controlled substance as your primary farm enterprise, there's questions about that. So if you have, say, for example, you're a hemp farmer and a medicinal marijuana farmer, let me know and I can get more clarification around that. And then if your primary goal on your farm is to feed yourself or your family, this might not be a good fit because the goals of the Journeyperson program is to really support farm businesses that have that economic and community impact. Let's go to those other questions before we go to you, Abby.
Mm-hmm. So one question is, when does this program start if we fill out the application due January 31st?
So yeah, great question. The application is due January 31st. We'll get more into the specifics of that process, but it starts as soon as you are admitted to the program, which most likely will be mid-February, and it runs for 2 years.
Okay. And does land tenure have to be specific amount of time?
Does land tenure need to? No, as long as, you know, and we can help with that. Maybe that's a good question for you, Abby, to tackle, because, you know, the goal is to set you up for at least you have at least that lasts a year or a season, a growing season. So you're not, you know, losing your lease in June or August, but it can transition and change and might likely shift over the 2 years you're in the program.
Great. And then one final question that just came in. If we're working with FSA and NRCS, do we still qualify for help from MOFGA?
Absolutely, yes. So many farmers take advantage, and we encourage that to get connected to, you know, farm service agency for any loans for your farm, and NRCS for any other projects you're working on your farm. So I will hand it off to you, Abby.
Okay. So we've got a couple more questions coming in. We're going to hold those just for until the end of this slide. So as I said at the start, I'm Abby Sadowskis. I'm the Maine field agent for Land for Good. Land for Good is a New England-based nonprofit. We work across New England, and so there are field agents just like myself in every New England state. We work in a couple of different ways. We're best known for direct service, and so that means sitting at the kitchen table. These days, it looks more like sitting across from each other on Zoom to help you achieve your land access goals. We also put together a lot of materials, so we do a lot of education. I just dropped into the chat some of the tools that relate to land access as they might relate to your situation. So I wanted to share how we help you achieve land access goals and how that maps onto MOFGA's programming. We help you explore your options. So that includes exploring what your goals are and what the potential strategies are. Those include thinking about whether you want to own land now or you already own land, if you want to own land in the future, or if ownership is not something you're focused on. MOFGA's educational programs, broadly writ, can be really helpful in this exploration. We also encourage you to explore what type of enterprises you're interested in so that your land search goals will be influenced and informed by the type of operation you'd like to run, versus finding land because it's available and then trying to sort of negotiate the shortcomings of the land based on what you hoped to grow. So I hope that makes sense. MOFGA's apprenticeship program is part of that exploration, and the farm training projects that correspond to the apprenticeship program are a really great way, if you don't have as much experience with farming, to really get a sense of what the options are and how different farms can look. When we've helped prepare by helping you explore those goals and strategies, we can help you prepare for farm acquisition. So we have a course called Acquiring Your Farm. It looks like it's spelled it wrong there. That is a free online course. It has, I think, 6 sections, and they get into, you know, broad exploration of your options in terms of land tenure. When I say land tenure, what I mean is how you access land, through what type of agreement. And it will also help you put together budgets so you understand the financing for your own home. You know, what does that look like on the day-to-day? How much money do you need? And how will farm ownership be impacted? So we can also help you put together a lease or prepare for a purchase, whether that's reviewing a lease document or reviewing a purchase and sale. We can also talk to you about financial readiness. So in addition to what I discussed we can do with acquiring the farm, we can also help you figure out how much money you might want to plan for when you acquire the property to fix up the infrastructure. or help you scale really quickly. If you are exploring some of the financing options like farm service agency, it's really a best use of time to borrow for everything you're going to need in the first couple of years. We can help you do something really specific, like develop a land search criteria. And what that does is it allows you to then plug into the resources like New England Farmland Finder and Maine Farm Link, and I'll pop those into the chat. Those are places where you can also create a profile or be notified every time a farm property becomes available. At the same time, MOFGA Farm Beginnings, the Journeyperson Program, they can help you develop a business plan, which you may need in order to acquire a farm. And then when you're at the point of acquiring a farm, we can help you develop and review agreements. So again, those might be a lease agreement. They might be a purchase and sale. Many farmers purchase what we call a home farm, and that is the place where they maybe have their house and they have their basic infrastructure. And that might be situated within a community where they have access to additional leased acreage. So the initial acquisition cost is less, but the farm dream is not sacrificed to that because there's these other relationships. One of the pieces we can also help with while you're preparing or acquiring land is negotiate with landowners. So part of the MOFGA benefits include helping with land search. They also can help you with negotiating with a landowner. And so the program is set up so that if you apply to the program and you don't have secure land tenure, I can work with you through that process so we can secure land tenure. And Bo can talk a little bit about the timing in terms of how that works about your acceptance to the program. But that shouldn't be a barrier to you. It shouldn't be a barrier to you also if you have purchased land, but you're not sure quite what to do with it yet. And maybe you apply to the program simply so you can talk through some of those options and get connected to resources. So we encourage you to be really open about this and not sort of self-limit. Just put your application in there and talk to us about if it's a good fit. Did I forget anything you wanted me to mention, Bo?
That's great. Thank you. And if people have questions for Abby, drop them into the Q&A and we'll get to them.
And so there is a question that was sitting here. Do the mentors need to be Maine-based?
No, they don't need to be Maine-based at all. That it is totally dependent on what you're looking for in that relationship. Just a note about the Farmer Programs Department and who you have access to at MOFGA that is specifically here to support you as a farmer. Ryan, who's up here in the top right, she's our director. We also have Anna that organizes things like the Farmer to Farmer conference and does our more advanced farmer programming. There's me with these Lammies. I'm your main contact for the Journeyperson program and anything involving beginning farming. We also have a marketing and business specialist who can help you with, for example, QuickBooks or marketing reports, setting your prices, specifics around that. We have a dairy specialist who's over here on our left. This is Jackie. We have a orchard specialist, CJ Walk, and then we have Caleb here. And then for folks up in the county, we have John. So any of these people can come out to your farm and do a farm visit. We are still doing farm visits, with social distancing and masks at this point. So if you do want a farm visit, that is definitely a part of the program. And a part of, if you're not doing the program, we can still do that too. So Brittany, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. Hi. Again, I'm Brittany, and this is a slide about my farm where I will tell you a little bit about the farm first for some context, and then about my experience in the mentorship program. So I guess to start out, again, we're located in Kenduskeag outside of Bangor. Our farm is about a little over 40 acres. It's been a while since we purchased it, but I'll give a couple details about how we access the land just for reference. My wife has a full-time off-farm job, so we were able to get a conventional mortgage and buy a home that happened to be on farm land, although it was not being commercially farmed at the time. It's kind of like a hayfield that we've brought back into vegetable production. So we grow on about like 2 acres plus of crop fields per year, and then we have another couple of acres in cover crops in any given year. We do 100% direct to consumer sales, so we sell at 2 farmers markets, and then we have a community supported agriculture CSA program as well, which has about 60 members right now. And yeah, I think that's kind of the basic stats for the farm. We started farming in 2012. The top picture on the screen there is me on the left and my wife Joy on the right at our very first farmers market ever in Bangor in 2012, where it poured rain. And the bottom picture, also for references, that's like what one customer bought on our website at some point this fall on our pre-order. So I thought, I was just looking through for a more recent photo and thought that was a good one of how far we have come, because that's like about as much stuff as you can see on the table on the first photo. And we're very grateful to all the customers who have started buying produce from us sight unseen this year during the pandemic. So I definitely credit a lot of the things that I've learned through the Journeyperson program and from MOFGA programs in general with getting us to where we are now and helping us pivot this year as well. So I guess I'll go back in time a little bit to where what I did and how I benefited from the Journeyperson program specifically. So there's mentorship as part of the program, and I found that to be tremendously helpful. I had 2 different mentors. The first year of the program, I was mentored by a farmer that I had worked for recently and was someone that I knew well and was familiar with her farm. And so that was helpful just because she was right here in the area and was accessible and someone that I felt comfortable with reaching out to. But then because the mentorship is funded through the Journeyperson program, I also didn't feel bad about bugging her all the time with questions in the same way I would if I was just asking her to do that for free. And then the second year, I reached out to a farmer, also relatively close by geographically, who I didn't know very well, but was curious about his farm and how he did things. And so kind of built on that by working with someone else who had a different farm that I wasn't as familiar with and could kind of teach me some new things and give me a different perspective. So I felt that worked well, and those are both still people that I am in touch with and can count on for answering a question now if I want to as well, 9 years down the road. So another part of the Journeyperson program that was especially impactful for me was the Farm Beginnings course. I took that after my first year of farming. Abby was the instructor at the time, actually. And yeah, it was a great community building thing for starters. It was, at the time, it was in person, and I got to know a lot of other farmers who were at the same stage of farming as I was, who many of them are also still farming now, and so that was great. It also kind of helped me, even though I had a year of farming under my belt, kind of convert some of my vague, dreamy farm dreams into an actual business plan, and just acquire business skills that I hadn't encountered elsewhere in my education prior to that. And I still use those skills today to evaluate enterprises that we have here on the farm, compare what it is we're actually doing to what our holistic goals are for our farm and our life. And we continue to draw on the information that we learn in that course every year in our farming life. So that was great. I did find that it was more helpful for me to take that course when I did have a year of records and experience under my belt, because a lot of it is analyzing financial topics and things like that. at the time, we also already had secure land tenure as well. So it was helpful to have a concrete, specific place that we were talking about when we were developing our business plan. Not absolutely necessary, but I found that to be helpful for me. I participated in the Farmer to Farmer conference, which is paid for Journey people. So that conference is wonderful. I've continued to attend it since then, but it's not cheap if you're getting the full room and board. So it was helpful when I was starting out to have that covered and be able to attend the full conference and learn from all of the great farmers that go to that event, as well as a number of other MOFGA events at that time. I think at the end of the Farm Beginnings course, we had a session where we met representatives from other ag service providers, including the NRCS and FSA. So that was especially helpful because I did access those programs in our first couple of years farming. NRCS specifically, we got a high tunnel grant through them, and also a plan to transition to organic. We weren't certified organic our first year, and had funding from NRCS to have someone at MOFGA actually write our first organic plan with us. So that was helpful and wasn't something I might have known about otherwise. And then relatively early on, we also used FSA microloan to fund some equipment purchases that we made, including my first and only tractor. And so again, getting to meet those people or having a liaison from MOFGA to connect with other agencies that can help beginning farmers was great. And I will also give a plug of praise for the JP listserv, which is a email, like it was described, but just like a Google group, which comes to me in my email inbox of conversations, classified listings, questions from other farmers. And the Journeyperson program has been around for long enough now that, I mean, there are farmers on there that have 15 plus years of experience in really large, impressive farms and really small, impressive farms, and people who just have a year or two of experience. So it's a really great peer-to-peer learning opportunity where you can access the brain trust of a lot of farmers in the state who are also farming sustainably and organically. And I've found it invaluable to just stay connected when I'm just here on my farm and not able to see all those people on a regular basis, that there's still a way to easily contact everybody. So I think that's pretty much my experience with the Journeyperson program. I would definitely recommend it if you kind of fit the criteria that Bo went over, and I'm also happy to answer any questions from the farmer perspective if anyone has one.
So there are a couple questions here for us. One question is, does Land for Good, and I'm going to add MOFGA, have tools that would be helpful for someone who already has land ownership but no infrastructure? So I'll take a first crack on this if that's okay, Bo.
Yeah, for sure.
So Land for Good can help with the vision part. If that's helpful to have someone to talk to you about what you'd like to do and how to get it there. One of the tools that we bring in is web soil survey, so we can kind of see what the land looks like. That would be really well to combine that with a farm visit from someone like Bo or Caleb or another ag service staff member who can help you think about layout and those sorts of physical things. And then Land for Good or MOFGA would be helpful as you pursue financing, if that's what you need in order to build that infrastructure.
Yeah, it sounds like everything that I would say. I love walking around people's farms with them and kind of daydreaming and strategically planning where infrastructure should go. And also I can connect people to other farms to check out and visit. That's a lot of the time what I encourage people to do is connect with farmers that you're inspired by and you're interested in their production methods and their layout of their farm, just to go check it out, so you can get more ideas around that. But yeah, our role at MOFGA in regards to helping plan infrastructure is we can do those walks with you, and then we can connect you to the financing programs.
Great. And I guess I would say NRCS is a great resource once you have that plan in place. And any of those folks that we just mentioned would be happy to talk to you about how to approach NRCS if you're not sure. And that's Natural Resources Conservation Service. I don't know if we said that. Another question, how many Journey people enter the program per year?
Yeah, we'll go through that. We have 11 spots this current year. So we usually have 12 spots every single year. Year 1 and year 2 will be 24 farms collectively, and people apply as a farm, not as an individual.
Great. And then what exactly is farmer to farmer?
Farmer to farmer. Well, this year it's different because of COVID, but in the past is a 3-day conference with lots of really delicious food that I'm missing, but it's a intensive workshop series throughout 3 days that's really built around recognizing that each of us as a farmer is an expert in the room, and then we are all learning as well. So the workshops are really structured around peer-to-peer learning and also hearing from specialists and other farmers as well. So it's a conference, and this year it happened online. It was a series of workshops online.
Great. That is all the questions we had.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Brittany, for talking about your experience in the JP program. And if folks have specific questions for Brittany, feel free to drop them in the chat. So the application process, I'm going to drop it into the website, into the chat, but applications have a hard deadline of January 31st. And then over the next week, that first week of February, we'll do Zoom or phone interviews. 11 farms are going to be accepted this year. And like Abby said, please, 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 if you feel like you meet these criteria, but you're unsure, the application process and the interview process is really about connecting you with resources that will support your farm. So even if you're not accepted into the program this year, going through the process of the interviews we'll throw 5,000 resources at you that might be helpful for you in this year until you maybe reapply. So reapplications are very common and they're strongly encouraged. And we might provide, if you're not accepted into the program this year, we can still be available for TA, for technical assistance. I'd be happy to come do a farm visit with you, and we can help you access still resources. And your program starts upon acceptance and then runs for 2 years. Another resource to know about is the Beginning Farmer Resource Network of Maine. They have a website that we'll also put into the chat that has, basically we're a group of organizations and service providers such as Land for Good, Cooperative Extension, MOFGA, Maine Farmland Trust, and we all meet quarterly to talk about and to build out supports for beginning farmers. So for example, there's the Farm Beginnings course that MOFGA we run in the winter, but that course, as Brittany said, is really great if you have at least 1 year of sales records. If you're not there yet, and you're maybe not at the position to do the Journeyperson program, Cooperative Extension has a great course called So You Want to Farm in Maine, which is, for that step before our programming. So I encourage people to check out the Beginning Farmer Resource Network of Maine website, because it does have a lot of resources about, financing your farm and different business supports. Okay, I think that's it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and drop some questions into the chat here. Abby, can you do me a favor and read me any questions that come through that I miss as I try and pull these up?
Sure. So we do have a question. Folks just purchased a MOFGA certified organic cranberry farm, which has product coming ready to be harvested. It's going to be their first year as the farm owners, but they have been homesteading and would be looking for guidance on expanding to other products, including poultry, bees, adding solar and an eco home, and preserving organic certification. Would we have to wait to apply after farming there for 2 years? I ask because I feel the first couple of years is where we would need the most guidance.
Yeah.
This would be their full-time gig. So
Yeah, I hear you. It's kind of that chicken or the egg question of like jumping in and then also needing, support while you do that. But really the hope is that you've been farming the enterprises you're interested in continuing for at least 1 year. So what I would say is that I would love to connect with you and let's meet and figure out where you're needing the most support and then actually waiting a year before you apply to the program. I'll say personally, like when I did the Journeyperson program, I wish that I waited a year for when I was doing my crop. At that point, I was a diversified crop farmer and I was really overwhelmed by all of my enterprises. And I almost wish that I waited a year to take advantage of the program because then I would have had a kind of more of a vision about what I specifically needed support around. So it's kind of my gut response to that question is, dial in on what enterprises you do want to focus on. But in the meantime, there's plenty of support that we can provide you as a beginning farmer on that farm. And congratulations on that purchase. That sounds like a really rad farm. I love cranberries, so that's great.
The only thing I would add is that I think as Bo's pointing out, like this year might be the year where you're just like diving in. And it might be super useful because farm beginnings to be able to have some of that first year experience. It does sound like a lot of the guidance you're looking for around poultry and bees in particular. MOFGA has workshops that would address some of those. And then the solar piece, I think there's a lot of good information on the Beginning Farmer Resource Network page about that. And then in terms of preserving your organic certification, that would be what the organic crop specialist can help you with, is just kind of looking at management and helping you continue that paperwork. So that shouldn't be a big deal. We have another question. If we already have land, are looking to move the farm to a new location, can Land for Good help us with this down the line? Absolutely. I myself bought my first farm was about 16 acres, and within 3 years, the opportunity to grow the farm was there. And so sold that farm and combined my farm with the property where I live now. So I can certainly relate to that, and I can certainly talk with you about strategies around that. In terms of the program, if you're looking to move to a new location, if you were the previous, question, right, that you had just moved to this new location, I think you might be in a different position than how we've characterized the previous question, because you may have already been farming in Maine. So I think, again, apply to the program to have a conversation is what my gut says.
Yeah. This next question about what you would be prepared to speak to during your interview. It's a great question. Like we've kind of stressed before, the interview is a time for us to get to know you. The interview committee will be myself, it will be Abby, and then it will also be Anna, one of my coworkers. And we're really getting to know you and getting to figure out like, where are you needing support right now in your business? If I was preparing for that or like preparing for that interview, I'd think about maybe reflect as a farm where you're needing the most support and why is now the time to take advantage of the Journeyperson program. That's a big question that we think about is like, will the Journeyperson program help this person overcome the barriers that they're facing in their beginning farming plan, and is now the best time for them to take it. Oftentimes we're like, you're an awesome farm candidate and we encourage you to wait a year and then reapply. That is a very common thing that we encourage people, and we stay in contact with those people as that year goes on. So that's kind of what I would think about is like, why now for the program and what are you looking for the most support in?
If I could just add to that, I would say, make sure you're coming with either another person, one person's going to take notes. We do throw out a lot of ideas and resources during that, and Bo does a valiant job of putting together those resources. And then one other question that often comes up is, what type of farm would you like to be mentored by? So say you have a lot of different enterprises and you're not sure which enterprise is going to be the biggest maybe, or where to put your focus. you just want to be thinking about what farms do you aspire for your farm to look like. And I think Brittany did a great job of characterizing how a mentor can help you with that.
For sure. Any other questions that are coming up for people before we kind of wrap up? I feel like I dropped. How will the JP program be different with COVID? I want to say not that different, to be honest. The only thing that's actively different is I'm currently facilitating Farm Beginnings online. And that what used to be 8 sessions of Farm Beginnings is now 8 consecutive jam-packed intense weeks. So that's the only thing is that a lot of MOFGA's programs are built around connecting you to other farmers, and connecting with other farmers right now mostly looks like we are on Zoom. All of our farm tours last year moved to farm-based workshops and webinars. So that is a difference, is that most of our workshops are moving online. We'll see how 2021 goes. We, as an organization, are very conservative and following all the rules of the government, so of the state government recommendations. So even if we, could safely do an event outside, most likely we're going to defer to those guidelines just out of the safety of everyone's community. We do still do farm tours, so those or farm visits, one-on-one, so that will still happen. And then a lot of the resources that you're able to access through the Journeyperson benefits, you can still access through online. And if you don't have, I'm assuming people have access to internet because you're on this webinar right now, but we do support people in internet access. We have hotspots that we send to people if they're trying to participate in events, but they have a weak connection.
Just to put a positive spin on it, I know I've actually been able to access more programming this year because Maine is such a big state and I live pretty high up in it. And so actually reducing the amount of travel time and expense is helpful, other than the fact that you're not in the same room or at the same farm with people. It can make things more accessible, and especially when you're really busy scrambling and starting a farm. So.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've actually seen participation in our events drastically increase this year because people are able to join from anywhere. Any other thoughts or questions? Feel free to drop them into the Q&A. Trying to think about things that we didn't get to. So like I said, applications are due on the 31st. There's a written application. If you do not feel comfortable in a written application, feel free to call me on my cell phone, and I will drop my cell phone into the chat if that would be helpful. And then you can also email me at bdennis@mofga.org. And I'm your point person for any questions that come up for you. And Abby, do you want to drop your info in there too? Can I put your email in there, abby@landforgood.org?
I think I just put it in.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yep.
There you go. So if there's no other questions, I think we're going to wrap up. Any last thoughts from Abby or Brittany?
Nope. I'd say best wishes if you're applying, and if there are any specific questions for me, I can feel free to reach out to me as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everyone. At this point, I'm going to end the meeting, and I will send out the recording in the next week or so. So I hope to see folks apply or ask questions. And we're so excited to, hear about your farms and hear how we can support you. So thank you all.